Joseph Stalin was born on December 18, 1879, in the small Georgian town of Gori, Georgia, with the birth name of Iosif Vissarionovich Druzgashvili. Stalin's father was a cobbler, and his mother was a washerwoman. Stalin was a frail and sickly child, contracting smallpox at age 7, leaving his face scarred. Years later, Stalin's left arm was deformed in a carriage accident. Also, Stalin was treated cruelly by other children, which is a part of what inspired him to rise to power. Stalin was an excellent student and was able to acquire a scholarship to Tiflis Theological Seminary. For unknown reasons, Stalin withdrew from this school in 1899, although it is suspected that in the previous year Stalin had joined a secret society which taught the ideas of Marx and supported Georgian independence from Russia.
Early in the Russian Revolution in 1902, Stalin was arrested and sent to Siberia for his role in the revolution. It was during this time he adopted the name Stalin, meaning steel in Russian. After his escape from Siberia, Stalin continued to support the revolution as an outlaw, raising funds through robberies, kidnapping, and extortion. He gained the most infame through the Sylvs Bank robbery, in which several people died, and he made out with 250,000 rubles, equivalent to roughly $3.4 million currently. In 1906, Stalin married to Kato, and together they had one child, Yakov. Kato died of illness in 1907. In October 1917, the Bolshevik Revolution was completed and the Tsar had abdicated the throne. In 1919, Stalin was remarried to a woman named Nasudesha. Stalin had two children, Vasilina and Svetlana. The fledgling Soviet government went through a violent time period after the revolution as various individuals argued over position and power. As a result, in 1922, Stalin was appointed to the newly created office of General Secretary of the Communist Party. In 1932, Stalin's second wife committed suicide.
1888. After leaving school, Joseph Stalin was sent to a seminary to study theology. However, instead of studying theology and the Bible, he embraced Marxism and became a follower of Vladimir Lenin, who was the leader of the Revolutionary Bolshevik Party. 1889. Joseph came into contact with Nizam-Dasi, a secret organization that supported Georgian independence from Russia. Some of the members were socialists who introduced him to the writings of Karl Marx and Vladimir Lenin. Interested, Joseph joined the group in 1898. 1901. Stalin furthered his involvement in the revolution and joined the Social Democratic Labor Party and worked full-time for the revolutionary movement. He was then later arrested for coordinating a labor strike and exiled to Siberia, which was first of his many arrests and exiles in his inexperienced years in the Russian Revolution. Although now an outlaw, Stalin still continued his work in hiding, raising money through robberies, kidnappings, and extortion. It was during this time that Joseph adopted the name Stalin, meaning steel in Russian. 1917. Bolshevik leader Vladimir Lenin denounced the provisional government, arguing that the people should rise up and take control by seizing land from the rich and factories from the industrialists. By October, the revolution was complete and the Bolsheviks were in control. 1922. Stalin was appointed to the newly created office of General Secretary of the Communist Party. Though not a significant post at the time, it gave Stalin control over all party member appointments, which allowed him to build his base. He made shrewd appointments and consolidated his power so that eventually nearly all members of the Central Command owed their position to him. Unfortunately, by the time anyone realized what he had done, it was too late. Even Lenin, who was seriously ill, was helpless to regain control from Stalin.
1924. Vladimir Lenin dies, and Stalin outmaneuvers his rivals for control of the party. Once in power, he organized farming for the state and had potential enemies accused of aligning with capitalist nations and convicted of being enemies of the people. Stalin also set in motion rapid industrialization that initially achieved huge success, but over time cost millions of lives and vast damage to the environment. Any resistance was met with swift and lethal response. Millions of people were exiled to labor camps of the Gulag or were executed, which was later known as the Great Purge. 1939. Stalin made a seemingly brilliant move. Shortly before World War II broke out in Europe, enemies Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union surprised the world by signing the German-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact, in which the two countries agreed to make no military action against each other for the next 10 years. On December 18, 1940, Hitler signed Directive 21, the first operational order for the invasion of the Soviet Union, breaking the Non-Aggression Pact made the previous year. June 1941. The Nazi Blitzkrieg attacks. The Soviet Union was completely unprepared and immediately suffers massive losses. When Stalin returned from hiding in his office for days, German armies occupied all of the Ukraine and Belarus, and its artillery surrounded Leningrad. 1945. President Roosevelt and Prime Minister Churchill met with Joseph Stalin to discuss post-war arrangements. The three leaders met again at Yalta in the Crimea. With Soviet troops liberating countries in Eastern Europe, Stalin was again in a strong position and negotiated virtually a free hand over reorganizing their governments. Stalin's reign over the Soviet Union would continue up until 1953, when he died. He left a legacy of death and terror as he turned a backwards Russia into a world superpower.
Stalin and the Soviet Union made major impacts in World War II. Hitler planned on attacking the Soviet Union while signing the Non-Aggression Pact with Stalin. The only reason he signed this was to make it easier for him to take over other countries. Hitler chose to invade the Soviet Union in the summer of 1941, and this was the main war the Soviet Union had to fight. The war was known as the Battle of Stalingrad. The Germans advanced easily through Western Europe, but had to retreat in December because of the harsh Russian winter. After World War II ended, the Soviet Union ended up paying the harshest price. Though the numbers are not exact, an estimated 26 million Soviet citizens died during World War II, including 11 million soldiers. Germans suffered 3/4 of their wartime losses fighting the Red Army. There was a great debate deciding if Hitler or Stalin was more of a ruthless dictator. Stalin holds his end with having 34 to 49 million deaths directly connected towards him.